I expect 4080 to get printed, and 4080 being a whole number, I should print it out using a %d. Then I want to print the value of I in one more way. To do that, I can say first get me the address of I. In this case, that address will be 4080. But I am not interested in the address now. I am interested in the value present at that address. I can obtain that value by saying star of and I. That's how you should read this expression, star of and I. Where star stands for value at address operator or indirection operator. And this indirection doesn't make too much sense, because and I gave you 4080. If you look at star as indirection, if you try to say indirection of 4080, that's not very meaningful. As against this, if you treat star as value at address, then it's very meaningful. And I gave you 4080, you are saying get me value at address 4080, value at address 4080 from the figure you can see is nothing but 10. So 10 is what is going to get printed out now. These and star together are commonly known as pointer operators. And this address of star is value at address, together they are known as pointer operators. And I, as we saw, gave us 4080, then I am saying value at address 4080, value at address 4080 is 10, so 10 is what is going to get printed out. And I should use a %d to get this printed out. Finally, I would put a closing brace of main. That is all, in fact, one really needs to know about pointers. Anytime you have any problem about pointers, just ask yourself two questions. Number one is, what does and stand for? Number two is, what does star stand for? And your answer should be that and is address of operator and star is value at address operator. If you know these two facts well, you are actually done with pointers. The concept of pointers is not difficult. What is difficult is the terminology that is associated with it. As we go along, I will highlight some of this terminology. This, I believe, everybody has understood. Very straightforward, very simple. And is address of star is value at address operator. Let's go to the next step. I will begin with the same program. Int I equal to 10. Rather than showing you all the memory locations, now I am showing only the relevant one. I has a value 10, it is present at address 4080. Then to print the value of I would say printf %di, that's going to fetch me a 10. Then I would say get me address of I, that as we saw in the previous slide got us 4080. And then we said get me value at address 4080, and that turned out to be 10. So far so good. Let's go now to the next step. I would say j equal to and I. In j, what would now get stored? 4080. So j itself might be present at some location, maybe 6010. In j, what has been stored, as you rightly said, is 4080. Now I say get me address of j. If I am to get address of j, what should I say? And j. Address of j. In this case, that address is going to be 6010. This also being a whole number, I would use a %d to print this out. Then I want to get value of j. Now you tell me, if I am to get value of j, should I say and j or should I say star j? Star j or and j? And j or star j? If you have to take anything out of this seminar, one thing that you must always remember is that whenever I give you two choices, answer is none of them. And j and star j, which one? None of them. We should just say j. Yes or no? All our life, whenever we wanted to get the value stored in the variable, we have been saying variable. So if I want to get value of j, I should simply say j. J should give me what? Whatever j is holding, in this case 4080. And again print this out using a %d. I want to get value of j in one more way. I should say star and j. And this you can see is similar to star and I, except that here we are not using parenthesis. We don't actually have to use parenthesis. We use them here just to make sure that we understand it clearly, that first we are trying to get the address and then we are trying to get the value present at that address. But here also I could have dropped this pair of parentheses, it would have still given me 10. That is what I have done here. I have dropped the pair of parentheses. Firstly, and j will go to work, and j will give me address of j is 6010. So this becomes star of 6010. Star is value at address 6010 is 4080. So this is also going to give me 4080. Yet again print this out using %d. Having done that, I go a step further and say k equal to and j. K would get created at some location in memory, maybe at 5112, and what you are now storing in k is address of j. Address of j is 6010, so k would now hold 6010. Now I decide to print variety of expressions. Tell me, k would give me what? 6010, that's what it is holding. Then and k means 5112, address of k is 5112. Star k, will that work? K gave me what? K gave me 6010. Star is value at address, so value at address 6010, value at address 6010, as some of you rightly pointed out, is 4080. And star of and k you need not even think. Why you do not have to think about star of and k? Because I gave you 10, star of and I also gave you 10. So I is same as star of and I. J gave you what? 4080. Star of and j also gave you 4080. If I is same as star of and I, j is same as star of and j, common sense k must be same as star of and k. So if k gave you 6010, star of and k should also give you 6010. Or if you want, you can analyze. And k will give me address of k, which is 5112. So this becomes star of 5112. Star means value at address. Value at address 5112 is 6010. Hence star of and k is going to give you 6010. Now I want to print 10 in variety of ways. Easiest way to do so is to say printf I. I can also get 10 printed out by saying star of and I. As we saw earlier, star of and I fetches us 10. Using j also I can print out 10. All that I have to say is star j. J contains 4080. Star is value at address 4080 is 10. So star j is bound to give me 10. I can also say star of and j, because we found that j is 4080. Star of and j is also 4080. So wherever there is a j, I can replace it with star of and j. So in this star j, star I am keeping as it is, j I am replacing with star of and j, resulting into star and j. Or if you want to analyze, you can analyze that star and j that you see here. First take address of j. Address of j is how much? 6010. So star and j becomes star 6010. Then apply 1 star to 6010. Value at address 6010, 4080. So star 6010 becomes star of 4080. And star is again value at address. Value at address 4080 is nothing but 10. So star and j is also going to give me 10. In addition to this, I can also say star k. Why? Because to k what you assigned is and j. So wherever there is a and j, I can replace it with k. That's what I have done, star and j. Out of that star I have kept as it is, and j I have replaced with k. K contains 6010, so this really becomes star 6010. And as we saw earlier, star 6010 is star of 4080 and star of 4080 is nothing but 10. So I can say star k. I can additionally also say star and k. Why? Because k and star of and k give me same result, 6010 and 6010. So wherever there is a k, I can replace it with star of and k. So these two stars I keep as they are. K I replace with star of and K. That will also fetch me a 10. So all of these are going to give me answer as 10. Then put a closing brace of main. All of you understood this? Fairly straightforward. This program has only one problem. Problem is that this program doesn't work. J and K we haven't defined, so we got to define them. Let's do that. I would say in J and in K. Having done in J and in K, if you compile again, you would find that the number of errors have now increased. What pointer? This is a question that you will come across so many times. Yeah, first listen to what I am saying. In J and in K, are they correct or are they wrong? They are right or they are wrong? I can convince you either way. I can easily convince you that in J and in K is perfect. I can also convince you that they are wrong. Which one should we begin? If they are correct, then there is no problem. Yes or no? So let me tell you that in J and in K are actually correct. I is an integer variable. How do we print it out? Using %d. J we don't know whether it's an integer or not. That's what we are trying to decide. I being an integer, you printed using %d. J you printed using %d. K also you printed using %d. So common sense tells you what? That if I is an integer and you print using %d, and J and K also you print using %d, so J and K must also be integers. That's what I had done. I said in J and in K, everything appears to be perfect. Problem is that the compiler doesn't agree with us. And what matters more is not what you say or what I say. What matters more is what the compiler thinks. Compiler thinks that this is wrong. Compiler thinks that J and K cannot be integers. And if you look at it correctly, compiler is actually correct. J and K are holding what? J and K are holding addresses. And what is I holding? Value. Integer, right? 10. So is this 10 different than 4080? Different? 4080 can be an integer as well, isn't it? Means this is a question that you will come across several times. Which question? Are integers and addresses same or are they different? Whenever this question occurs to you in future, and I believe that for next 10 years this question will trouble you. Are integers and addresses same or are they different? Whenever such a question occurs to you, always answer yourself very, very convincingly that integers and addresses are poles apart. They have got nothing to do with one another. They are very, very different. Right? Integers and addresses are poles apart. Don't write it down. Why? Because you have not understood it. Don't get convinced very easily, believe me. If you get convinced easily, by the end of the day I will end up convincing you anything. I know that I am good at it. So don't get convinced easily. It should appeal to your reasoning ability that they are different. Just because I say that they are different doesn't make them different. Yes or no? Right? So let me convince you. If I tell you that my basic salary is 4080 rupees and I get dearness allowance at 95% of my basic salary, conveyance allowance at 20% of my basic salary, and HRA at 15% of basic salary. So what is my gross salary? You can do a quick calculation. People are usually very good at these calculations. Which calculations? Calculations of somebody else's salary. They are very good at it. अपना कितना बन रहा है इसके तरफ ध्यान ही नहीं है. लोग कितना बना रहे हैं उसकी वही गिनती कर रहे हैं. So if 4080 is my basic salary, I can do all kind of arithmetic on it. Yes or no? But if I tell you that, see, my car registration number is 4080, I will laugh at you if you ask me what is 10% of that. Why? Because you never do that. Imagine on the main road here, if a motorbike passes you, and if you find that the registration number for that motorbike is 444, only thought that occurs to your mind is what? That this man's father or uncle must be well connected. Beyond that, nothing occurs to you. You never try to find out 444 multiplied by 7 कितना होता होगा. You never do 444's 10% कितना होता होगा. Yes or no? Means what? 444, on that you don't do any arithmetic. That is what? That is just the address of the bike on which you don't do arithmetic. 444 किसने बताया कि मेरा basic salary है, तुरंत calculation हो सकता है. If I tell a worker that, see, you work for 8 hours, I will give 44 rupees. You work 4 hours extra, I will double that. He can also do a quick calculation that if he works 12 hours, he will make 88 rupees. But if you ask me where do I stay, I would say that, well, I stay at plot number 44 in Nagpur. You ask me, okay, what is double of that? I would say, well, I never did that. Yes or no? At whatever house number, plot number you stay, you never do any arithmetic on that. Yes or no? You stay at, let's say, plot number 50, I stay at 44. We never add 44 and 50 to find out where a friend stays. Yes or no? Means what? Addresses are entities on which you do not perform arithmetic. You agree with that? Whereas, if you take 44 as an integer, you can do all kind of arithmetic on it. That, in fact, is the difference between an address and an integer. On integer, you do any and every arithmetic. On addresses, you never get to do any arithmetic. Once you know that, if I tell you that, see, J contains an address and K also contains an address, then you should be sure that J and K's definition should be different than I. Why? Because I holds an integer and J and K hold addresses, and we are now convinced that addresses and integers are two very, very different things. Unless and until you understand this concept, just because somebody says that you have to define J this way and you have to define K some other way is not enough. You have to get convinced that integers and addresses are two very, very different things. I is holding an integer. For that, if you say int I, for J and K which are holding addresses which are very different than integers, you must say anything but int J and anything but int K. Once we are convinced about this, now the question comes as to how do we define J. As some of you said, we got to say int star J. And now you will find that everything falls in place. Star was what? Value at address. So what are you trying to say? Value at address stored in J is an int. J contains what address? 4080. So you are saying star of 4080 is an int. Star of 4080 is very much an int. Star is value at address. Value at address 4080 is very much an integer. You defined I to be an integer. So star J is correct. Exactly for the same reason, star K is wrong. Let's first find out why this is wrong. K gave you 6010. So you are trying to say value at 6010 is an int. Value at 6010 is not an int. Hence you need to say int star star K. Are we clear on this now? You should never face any problem about pointers here onwards. है ना, कंफ्यूजन नहीं रहना चाहिए, सहमे सहमे से नहीं रहना चाहिए, नॉलेज एकदम परफेक्ट चाहिए. या depends upon how you store them. 4080, I know what you want to say. 4080 you say could be an integer. Yes, it can be an integer. If it is to be an integer, in that case you will have to put it into an integer variable. If you say 4080 into 7, the fact that you are doing arithmetic on it itself means what? 4080 in this case cannot be an integer, because you are trying to do arithmetic here. 4080 will have to be treated as an integer. It cannot be treated as an address, right? So looking at 4080, you cannot say whether it's an integer or an address. Depending upon what operation you are intending to carry out, you will be able to clarify that I want this to be an integer right now, or I want this to be an address right now. Every day I get up in the morning, I pray a person. This is a person who wrote printf function for us. Ultimately, printf is what? A library function. Somebody wrote it. If you come to Nagpur, I will show you his photograph. Reason why I pray him is very simple. When he designed printf, people asked him, okay, in your function, how do you print out an integer? He said, not a problem, use a %d to print it. Then people said, fine. Then they asked him, how do you go about printing an address using your function? He said, okay, use %d. He knew very well what? That integers and addresses are two very, very different things. However, integer and address, both when it comes to printing, in printf, he said use %d to print that out. Because of which there is a lot of confusion in the world of pointers. Because of that, %d being used for pointer, %d being also used for integer, people start believing what? That, oh, integers and addresses must be same things. He committed that mistake. Because of which there is so much confusion in the world of pointers. And believe me, had there been no confusion in the world of pointers, maybe your institute would have never thought of inviting me here. So he helps me make my bread and butter. I need to pray him. Yes or no? Jokes apart, what you have to understand is, integers and addresses are two very, very different things, but when it comes to printing them out, fortunately or unfortunately, both are printed using %d. Just to summarize what we did, and star are pointer operators, and is address of operator, star is value at address operator. Then we also learned that variable, whichever you use, you can always replace it with star of and variable. I we saw is same as star of and I, j was same as star of and j, k is same as star of and k. Hence, any variable you can replace with star of and variable. For the first time, I am uttering the word what is a pointer. Well, pointer is a variable that holds addresses of other variables. So, pointer is basically a variable. Speciality of it is what? That it holds addresses of other variables. Hence, in our case, do you agree that j and k were pointers? Why? Because they were holding addresses of other variables. J was holding address of I and k was holding address of j. So both were in that sense pointer variables. Then we did this int I equal to 10, j equal to and I. We defined j to be what? Int star j. Yes or no? How do you read this expression int star j? Integer pointer. Better than that, go by the meaning of star. Star is what? Value at address. तो शुरुआत में कम से कम ये 2-4 बार दोहरा लीजिए. Whenever you come across int star j, go by the meaning of star, value at address. Value at address stored in j is an int. Value at address stored in j is an int. Then we did k equal to and j. When I said k equal to and j, we defined k as star star k or int star star k? Star star k is meaningless. You have to say int star star k. Yes or no? In int star j, what are you defining? Or int star star k, what are you defining? हाँ, ये सब गोलमाल है. int star j और int star star k में क्या डिफाइन कर रहे हो? इसका सही आंसर क्या है? एक वर्ड में. Forget explanation. What are you defining? Absolutely not. You are defining variables. You define only two things in C. Variable, function, full stop. बाकी सब बकवास है. I didn't ask you what is the meaning of int star j. I didn't ask you what is the meaning of int star star k. All that I asked you is in int star j and int star star k, what are you defining? You are defining only variables because those are the only things that you can define in C apart from functions. वो स्टार जो जे के साथ लिखा हुआ है ना, उससे काफी कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट होता है. बहुत लोग बोलते हैं int स्टार जे में क्या कर रहे हो? in so many interview rooms that we walk into every year, when we ask what is int star j, people say star j is an int. Star j is what? Star j is what? Variable. कौन सा वेरिएबल स्टार से चालू होता है? कोई भी नहीं, कोई भी नहीं, कोई भी वेरिएबल अल्फाबेट से चालू होता है. Yes or no? You did that in, I don't know, first C program you did. That is where you learned that variable begins with what? Alphabet. So star j cannot be a variable. Then what is star j? Pointer variable. What is star j? Star j is an expression. है ना? Star j is an expression. Then what are you doing in int star j? You are defining j to be of the type int star. You are not defining star j to be of the type int. है ना? दोनों में अंतर है. You cannot define star j. Why? Because star j is an expression. You never define expression. Do you ever say int 3 plus 4? You never. Why? Because 3 plus 4 is an expression. Expressions you don't have to define in C. But in int star j, you are not defining star j. That's a fundamental mistake that people commit. You are defining j to be of the type int star. इसलिए अगर नागपुर आओगे आप मेरे से सी प्रोग्रामिंग सीखने के लिए, तो मैं क्या बताता हूं मालूम आपको, कि आप इंट लिखिए, स्टार लिखिए, 1 किलोमीटर दूर जे लिखिए, ताकि स्टार और जे का कोई संबंध ना रहे. बराबर? जे अलग है. जे का टाइप क्या है? इंट स्टार. दैट इज करेक्ट. In int star star k, you are not defining star k. You are not defining star star k because both are expressions and you never define expressions. You are defining k to be of the type int star star. बराबर? ये बात अभी पक्की हो गई. J is of the type int star, k is of the type int star star. Now you tell me, can I do L equal to and k? Can I do L equal to and k? I can. If I do so, how would you define L? तो अब बात समझ में आ रही है ना? आप ऐसा मत बोलिए कि मैं स्टार 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 एल डिफाइन कर रहा हूं. नहीं, मैं एल डिफाइन कर रहा हूं. कौन से टाइप का? int star star star. Right? Now you tell me, can I say m equal to and L? I can. M I am defining to be of the type int star 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 m. How long can I go on doing this? So long as I can understand it. And usually that limit of comprehension is 2 stars. Beyond that, it becomes a little hazy. Do you agree that J, K, L and M, all 4 are variables? All are of the pointer type. Yes or no? Why? Because they are holding addresses of other variables, and we said that pointers are what? Variables which hold addresses of other variables. So J, K, L and M, all 4 qualify as pointers because they are holding addresses of other variables. But at the same time you have to remember that even though each is a pointer, each is a different type of pointer. For example, J is an integer pointer. Why J an integer pointer? Not because it is holding an integer. Had it held an integer, we would have simply said int J. J is holding address of an integer, hence J qualifies as what? A integer pointer. Integer pointer ki pointer to an integer? Is J an integer pointer or pointer to an integer? Both are same. That's what I told you, that jargon is confusing. Concept is simple. Some people say that J is an integer pointer. Some people say that J is pointer to an integer. Some people say that J is a variable which is pointing in the direction of an integer. All of that basically means that J holds address of an integer, nothing else. Right? All of these are same. So J is an integer pointer. Hence K must be what? K must be a pointer to an integer pointer. L is what? L is a pointer to an integer pointer. And M is what? M is a pointer to an integer pointer. आप समझ रहे हो कि 2 स्टार के बाद क्यों कंफ्यूजन होता है? People several times ask me, how come you are comfortable with this? My standard answer to them is that by education and training, I am a mechanical engineer. I got nothing to do with computing. I am by training and education a mechanical engineer, hence I am supposed to do things mechanically very well. And that is precisely I am doing. Wherever I see 1 star or wherever I see 4 stars, I made up my mind, the moment I see a star, I should utter the word pointer. Here there are 4 stars, so I must utter the word pointer 4 times. M is what? Pointer to a pointer to a pointer to an integer pointer. L has 3 stars with it, so L must be what? Pointer to a pointer to an integer pointer. K is what? 2 stars, so pointer to an integer pointer. J has only 1 star, so it's only a integer pointer. Moral is what? Moral is don't do things mechanically. If you do things mechanically, you may end up becoming a mechanical engineer, which is not one of the very good things to happen today. है ना, दौर चला अभी कंप्यूटर इंजीनियर्स का या एमसीएस का. अभी मैकेनिकल इंजीनियर बन के आज के तारीख में कोई फायदा नहीं. राइट, दोज डेज आर ओवर. Suppose I say int and k. If I ask you to analyze int and k, I am sure that several hands will go up and people will tell me that address of k is an integer. बकवास है, क्योंकि आपके सबके नोटबुक में लिखा हुआ है addresses and integers are poles apart. The address of k cannot be an integer. So no need to even analyze this. What you have to understand is that in a declaration of a variable, a single and can never occur. 1 star can occur, 2 can occur, 3 can occur, 30 can occur, 300 can occur. 1 and in the definition, reject it immediately. Int and k is totally wrong. K equal to and j. First I am trying to get address of j. Then I am trying to store what? Address of j in k. ये भी एकदम गलत है. Why? In real life, you come and ask me, where do I stay? What is my address? I'll tell you that, well, I stay at plot number 44. 44 is my address.